On July 13th, crews responded to a reported fire in a commercial occupancy. It was about 114 degrees outside, and the type of business was a spray booth manufacturer. The building construction type was 60s era. Large cinder block boxes with wide-span bow-strung trusses. The first in-company officer correctly determined the critical factors as a large volume of fire that had extended into the attic space, the construction type, which was an old building with large common attic space and no fire stops, no life safety threat as it was a business and all workers had self-evacuated at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The critical actions were to set up large caliber master streams and protect the exposure to the east. The strategy was declared defensive, which means we were not going to risk our lives at all to save property that was already lost. During the course of this incident, 2 firefighters were injured. They have since recovered from their injuries, but both of the events were potentially life-threatening at the time. The firefighters and command officers operating on this incident are going to share their experiences with you today. And they're telling their story so that we can all benefit and learn from their experiences on that hot July day.
Engine 21, Engine 3, Rescue 3, South Deputy, Engine 1, Ladder 1, Battalion 1, Channel 8, a structure fire, 2353 West Lincoln Street at AmeriCare. Engine 21, Engine 3, Rescue 3, South Deputy, Ladder 1, Battalion 1, Channel 8.
21, go. Engine 21 is on the scene as a bow-strung roof with fire venting through the roof. We are laying a supply line. This will be a defensive fire. Engine 21 will go ahead and assume Lincoln command with a further report to follow.
When we got on the scene, Engine 21 had gotten on the scene first and already declared the strategy as being defensive, and they were laying a line to the southwest side of the building and setting up over in that location. He deployed companies to the north and the east side because of possible exposures.
Engine 21 got on the scene and gave a real good report that they had a warehouse and that they were going to go defensive. It was obviously going to be a defensive fire. We went around to the north side, got dressed out, put our bottles on, and went and assumed north sector.
Battalion 1 gets on the scene. He was assigned to take over north sector. At that point in time, he goes in there and says, we've got fire extending to the building to the east, 2-story structure with a Quonset hut type structure behind it. If we don't get aggressive on this end, we're going to lose them.
One of the bow-strung roofs had already come down, and we were taking a position just to the east of that building that had come in already. We were in a safe location. Everything was structurally sound. We weren't in the fire at that time. We were actually in a defensive fire, but we were just going to make sure that no fire could go past us on the east where we were.
As the crews came in, we made the assignments to build those organizations, to get that sector built up, to stop that extension to the east, and then everybody else to the north and to the south side was setting up for that defensive operation on that bow-strung roof.
We were watching the building, watching the fire. We knew the plan was to let the roof burn off this other structure that was to the west. Everybody knew the plan was let that burn until the roof came in, and then we would try to focus water on putting out the actual part that had caved in. Some of the lessons learned there were, one of the things first off, and it seems like it's a real small part of our job, but is the helmet ID stickers. That actually was one of the things that threw a wrench into this call a little bit, in that we didn't have Battalion 1 stickers on there, and we had actually talked about it at the beginning of the shift. We didn't get them, and we didn't put them on. The other thing is, I was assigned to North Sector. I probably should have taken a little stronger stance with managing Ladder 1's position. I don't really recall having too much conversation with Ladder 1. In fact, I would probably go back and have myself reassigned as East Sector and let somebody else take North Sector, because I was inside the building too much on the east side to really manage the north side of that fire where the ladder was.
We knew right off the bat this was strictly a defensive operation. It's 110 plus outside in late afternoon, so we're going to have to get additional resources there. We started placing and building the different sectors.
When we arrived on the scene, we were assigned to West Sector. We got dressed out, kind of did a face-to-face with our South deputy, and then assumed West Sector. We had Engine 21, which had a laid line to the west side of the building and had a 2.5 around the back of the side of the building, and was operating the hand line under the awning into the buildings that were on fire. We went ahead and backed Engine 21 out. They kind of self-backed out and had to make a decision whether the whole thing was defensive, because there was 3 bowstrung occupancies. The one that we were assigned to, the most western occupancy, had some smoke in there, but it really didn't have any fire at the time that we could see. There was a big roll-up door. We could look in the door, smoke up in the ceiling, but no fire. So we cleared command and made sure everything was defensive.
The bowstrung on the west had 4 turbines on the roof, and they were from the midpoint of the bowstrung to the north. 3 of those 4 turbines had fire showing through them. So the discussion came up: can we put anybody into the structure on the west side to attack that fire that's in the middle or not? And I made the decision right then and there: no, we're not doing that.
At one point, it looked like maybe we might be able to get crews inside there and maybe stop it at that point. So we went back to command and discussed that with them.
Ultimately, the decision was, we declared it defensive. We made a decision not to go in. We're not going to go into it now.
As far as the building deteriorating, it went from very light smoke, being able to see the rafters, to smoke down to the floor and the roof burning away on that back section in just a matter of minutes.
And when I got there and assumed South Sector from Engine 21, Engine 14 and Engine 21 had 2 lines already deployed down a breezeway between the fire occupancy and an occupancy to the east. One of the captains came up to me and said, we can't get to this fire down this breezeway, so we're going to take these lines around the south side and get it from here. I said, okay. I knew it was a defensive fire, but my concern was we were still protecting the exposures to the east and also protecting the exposure to the west.
We were coming back from Maryville Hospital, saw a column of smoke. I knew it was within our second due area. A little frustrated because I thought we were going to miss out on a fire. And we were ordered to go to the south side of the building and pump ladder 4 and be South Sector. My captain ordered us to grab a 2-inch line. So my partner ran back to pull a 2-inch, but there was an 1 3/4 charged line already on the ground right there. Next to us, we ran over, grabbed the nozzle. I looked over and I saw a 2x10 stud burning that was in an entranceway. So I figured, hey, I'd walk over there, rip it off the wall. It was burning, no big deal. As I yanked it, I snapped it, and as I was walking away, the upper portion of the 2x10 stud came down, smacked me right in the back of the head, which had knocked me to the ground. I tried to get up right away because I didn't know what was going to fall. The remaining of the roof was going to come down on me, but I couldn't just because of that upper part of the stud was caught in my air pack. It really felt like somebody really sucker punched me, and I was seeing stars and dazed and confused. I wasn't able to get up then just because I was so out of it. So I decided just to lay there and just wait it out to see what was going to happen or what. At that time I heard my captain and 2 other firefighters walk over, got a little bit of block off me, helped me up, assisted me out back to the truck.
And then I heard on the radio that Engine 14 was calling for an ambulance.
Engine 14 to South Sector, we need a rescue over here to the south side of the structure. South Sector, copy. South Sector to command. Command copies that, South Sector, we're going to get you up.
I came around and got with the captain of Engine 14 and asked him what happened. He said that, you know, he had, one of the firefighters was pulling the casing around one of the roll-up doors. One of them snapped and he had some block that fell down on him, and he told me it just kind of tweaked his back.
The only notification we got in the command post was a request for a rescue. There was no mayday, no emergency traffic, no, hey, I got a guy injured over here or anything like this.
When I found out that the injured firefighter, I wish he would have come to me as a sector officer, so, you know, I could have reacted tactically in a better way.
Let's see, if that call were to happen everything over again, I don't think there would be anything I would change differently besides the fact of me walking over to that 2x10 stud.
in hindsight, we could have worked farther away from the structure and not had the problem of guys wanting to creep up to the building and do what firemen do, is be aggressive and put the fire out.
But we got set up. He gave us our order, and like a good command officer, between him and a transition to South Deputy Chief Wolfe, they left us alone so we could get everything set up and running. Got a real good operation going up. Basically burning from the south to the north. We were on the northwest corner. We had already put out the whole 2 center buildings pretty much. They were down, dead, done. The east structure with the coordination of Dick Armendariz, they had that controlled and saved that. So it was just a time thing. We were going to wait and let the building burn. We were up there at least 30 minutes or more without incident. We came down. We were tired, so we went over to get a quick drink of water from the rehab area. There was at least 3 occurrences where someone could see from a different angle that we had firefighters in the bucket that didn't have their full gear on and breathing apparatus on. So I relayed to them and told them, ladder 1 to truck 1, you need to have full protective gear on with your face piece in place and be on air.
Keep holding stay on air, huh, Bruce? Keep it. Make sure you get breathing apparatus on, please. Keep at it.
The sector officer, which was again was Dick Armendariz, says you need to do something with the bucket.
North sector, ladder 1. Ladder 1. John, I think you need to move those guys out of that flame area.
I raised truck 1, or tried to, and told them the heat and the smoke's looking pretty intense. You need to either rotate that around or get out of that heat and smoke. At that point in time, I said, I need you to give me confirmation you have all your gear on with the face piece on and breathing air. He said, affirmative.
Ladder 1 to truck 1. Confirm you both are breathing apparatus, correct?
One would assume that they would have that on. Almost immediately at that time, the last trusses on the R side, the far northwest corner, came in. A large plume came up. The smoke had flashes of fire through it. I'm thinking, well, they're going to get hot. I hope they start moving that pretty soon, and or maybe pull the little sprinkler. Well, the one firefighter, Austin, pulled the sprinkler. There was some delay for some reason, and next thing we know is there was a firefighter coming down the aerial.
Command to alarm emergency traffic. Command all units, get ladder 1 down now. Ladder 1 needs to be retracted immediately.
My engineer was at the turntable when I walked up at that moment. He looked at me and he goes, "What do you want, Captain?" I said, "I want you to leave it alone until we get that firefighter down." How is our firefighter in the bucket? They got on him on the intercom without all the radio noise. He was on the turntable, so he just checked with him. He said, "I'm fine. I just pulled the sprinkler and I'm down in the bucket with all my gear and my mask on. I'm fine."
North sector, get that bucket down off ladder 1. I want that crew and that bucket down. Affirmative, we're getting down this time, Red. North sector, command. North sector. We got a rescue over here by ladder 1, so we can check out this firefighter that's down here.
Very simple. Wear all your gear, rotate the bucket away from the building, which we had rotated it back and forth. We could have completely rotated away where it would have been a non-incident. If we'd have been fully protected, it would have been a non-incident. So it's very valuable that we learn some lessons.
Basically, to summarize this fire and this incident, there were a lot of things happened here, happened standard, and were done very well. I think the plan that was put together initially, first in company officer, was set up just exactly right. It was very easy to follow his plan because of the way he set everything up from the get-go. Every once in a while, a little quirk comes in. You deal with those quirks. In this event, we had 2 such incidents that we had to deal with, and the fact that we ended up having 2 individuals that got injured, that in a defensive operation that we had to work to get them out of the positions that they were in and get them transported and taken care of at the hospitals.
Some of the lessons learned on this particular incident are, once a defensive fire has been declared, a perimeter has to be established, and this has to include all of the height of the buildings as well as any of the overhangs, and that perimeter needs to be strictly enforced as a no-entry zone. We must select hose streams that reach across the collapse zone and into the fire. We must follow SOPs, wear our protective equipment at all times. We must also communicate with each other at all times in order to react to changes on the fire ground. Anticipate the structural failure of buildings as the fire progresses, and be prepared to reposition or abandon positions to maintain firefighter safety. The defensive fire strategy applies to all three layers of the fire ground: the strategic, tactical, and task. One layer cannot outperform the other two if they are not operating in the same strategy. Officers should always ask themselves, what are we doing? Where are we doing it, and why are we doing it? We would like to thank the people who participated in this video. It's through their actions and the sharing of their experience that's going to allow us to evaluate the way we operate on defensive fires and improve our performance and enhance the safety of the fire ground.